Hi, and welcome to Spirit Science. I'm Heather Garrett, and I own Planet Botanics here in Ottawa.
And I'm Diane Lancier of soulrestoration.ca.
And we have a very special guest today, Michael Sanon. Welcome.
Thank you.
Say his last name again. You
Do
wrote
you
it
say
too fast.
Sanon or do you say Sanon?
It depends who I'm speaking to.
I'm out of the camera.
So if an English person is asking, I say Sani,
Yeah.
and then a French-speaking person, I'll say Sani. So we kind of customize.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair.
We
Fair enough.
gotta remember to speak up
So
we can be heard.
today we're going to talk about Michael's experience with crystals.
Yes.
And also having his, what do you call it, muggle job during the daytime. Seems like everyone we're talking to now has these two faces. One that they present as, I'm the official blah, 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 and this is my job. And then, and also, I'm a shaman. Or, and I'm a psychic. Or, I really like crystals, which
I actually think is really cool because
very
it means
cool.
we're implanting into regular world, right?
Exactly.
And shining the light where it needs to be. And then also, I think, as long as you have passion somewhere in your life, you don't it doesn't have to be all the time, right? It makes muggle jobs more bearable when you have, when you've found your passion. I think people who aren't happy in their muggle jobs, it's usually because they don't know where their passion is.
And you can be happy in your muggle job.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with muggle jobs, but
Yeah.
it's nice to have a balance. When I was working for the government, my balance was making product for PB and then working
Botanics.
here on Saturdays.
Right.
So people would say, well, how did you manage all that? I don't know. Just because I was here.
Yeah, me too.
And you?
Definitely, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about balance. And especially in our time, we also often find ourselves kind of confined in the types of choices that we can make. So in terms of what can bring us money, what can give us a living, we're very limited in terms of what the perception is that we're limited in terms of what we can choose.
Right.
And so I guess it's really important to strike that balance between doing what we need to do in order to live a successful life financially, but also balance it with what we love to do and follow our passion.
And the financial part can actually be the bridge to doing that other part that you want to do in a safe way, right? Like if you say, well, you know what, I just want to be a crystal practitioner and that's all I'm going to do. See a government job, then all of a sudden you're operating from a different mind. You can be.
Yeah.
I'm learning from you. You can be operating from a different mindset, which is lack, instead of having your job that pays you money so you can focus on the things that you want to do. Gives you that freedom.
Yeah, and it's definitely about perception, like you said. You're so close to me. We have to squeeze in to fit into the view.
It's almost like we're kissing.
Almost, not quite. But yeah, it's definitely about perception because it is that perception that we are limited. We aren't limited, and that limit, that mindset that I'm using to use the lingo, that mindset that the money only comes from a certain place is the limiting one, right?
Yeah, it's
that
our
says,
limiting belief.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not true. It's just true in our heads because it's what we believe, but it's not true from a spiritual perspective.
It's all that subconscious stuff.
Yeah,
that we've
and if
saved
you,
up.
so as an example, we're totally going off track, but as an example, if you felt like you wanted to work full-time with crystals and crystal energy, teaching people and working with people, whatever it is that you felt it was at the time, because it could change and evolve, you would just simply have to realign your mindset to match that, right? To say, but it's, I know it's simple, but it's not. There's a lot of layers to remove and stuff to get you to that place, but it is possible.
I can definitely relate. I mean, that's one of the challenges, one of the biggest challenges that I had when I was going through this journey. How can I recondition the programming that I had from a child? Since day one, your parents tell you, get a job, get something steady.
You have to work hard for your money.
Work hard for your money,
Yeah.
earn a paycheck, bring it home, and that's what defines happiness.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you kind of realize that maybe that's not the kind of lifestyle that I want to live. And then it comes to asking the question, well, how can I live the lifestyle that I want without having to kind of conform to the mold that everyone else seems to feel is the right way to live.
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of have to reformat ourselves.
Yes.
Take the ideas that we've originally been programmed with and shoot them out.
Yeah.
Accept that we know nothing, and accept that we have to relearn everything in order to truly vibrate with this kind of emotion that you're talking about. Because once we're thinking that way, once we're reprogramming ourselves, then we're able to kind of attract everything that we want.
Yeah, well, see, and I would say the original programming is the soul programming. I know you meant as children, but that isn't your original programming, right?
I agree.
And your what did you just say after that? The reprogramming, and I would say deprogramming,
Yeah.
because you've got to undo the
All
stuff
those
that you've
lessons that you
learned
learned
as
and
a
believed.
human, right?
Definitely. Kind of like the impression that we're born pure, and then we learn this programming, and then we have to reconnect
Yes.
to that purity that we all.
Which is why my
Awesome.
business
Yeah.
is called Soul Restoration, because it's like a restoration to that soul space, right? That who you are as a spiritual
The me.
being.
The me.
Me.
Yeah. As we discussed last show.
Yes.
Now, Michael, how long have you and I known each other?
5 years.
5 years?
5 years,
Wow.
if I'm not mistaken.
So you first came into the store as a customer, and then you noticed the crystals, and then you just became a fixture in that corner.
And I met you 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's
when
right.
I was doing, I think it was during Glowfest, and I was here for the day or something, or I was doing
Amazing.
readings for a day, and you came in and we met, and I
That's right.
showed you
Yeah.
during Virtue's Archangel Michael class. I
That's
think.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And you've just been open like, from then. You got your Reiki, and
I mean, it's been a
Reiki is the gateway drug, right?
It's been it's been a tremendous journey. I mean, walking in the door, looking for that space where I could feel accepted. I think a lot of us realize that this kind of knowledge, that in terms of crystals, essential oils, it's different than what we learned growing up for a lot of us.
Yes.
And so there tends to be this impression, and we were talking about impressions earlier and these kinds of confining thoughts, that it's not acceptable, it's not okay, it's not the right thing, quote unquote, to explore crystals or explore these other avenues. And sometimes we tend to feel that we might not be accepted by our family, by our friends, by people who know us a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I can relate to that because on my journey, when I was first coming into the store, I was actually going through that major transition where I wanted to really start applying what I was learning to my life. But at the same time, there was a fear that my friends won't accept me anymore, my family won't accept me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What will people think? And coming to a place like Planet Botanics actually gives you that sense of security, that feeling that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to like these kinds of things, it's okay to be interested in these kinds of things. And not only is it okay, it's actually something beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually something that can help unlock so many gems that are hidden within our own bodies, within our own souls.
Yeah.
And so I think that for me, the journey was really coming into the door, accepting this as my truth, and accepting this as my reality, and then living it.
And that
Living
was
it
more,
without fear.
and at some point that became more important than the fear of being judged.
Of course.
Yeah.
It kind of became, am I going to live my life, and am I going to do what I feel I was meant to do?
Yep.
Or am I going to live a life to help please others?
well, finding your tribe definitely helps,
That's true.
right? Because it gives you the support that you need. And you were like, every time you came in, I was like, oh my God, that guy's like, his trajectory is like this, right? I read this book, I read this crystal book, I read the history of crystals.
I couldn't get enough.
You were, and then
yeah.
you did your Reiki, and then I think you kind of were saturated at that point, and it was like, well, gotta step back a little bit because this is a lot.
And I think that's something that everyone goes through in their journey. The point where we're going to stop absorbing information, and when do we stop absorbing and start applying what we're learning? I think that with anything new and with anything that's uncertain, there tends to be a little bit of fear because we don't know what to expect. But once we're able to establish a certain guideline, a certain base, a certain benchmark, I wouldn't say a set of rules, but a certain understanding of how things work, then it's kind of easy to take off. And coming to the store, learning about crystals, reading those books, it gave me that benchmark, that guideline, that base in order to know what I was doing, and then in order to take to the next level intuitively, freely,
Yeah.
with the heart. So I think it's really important for people to recognize, especially that along the journey there comes a time where you're absorbing information, and it's good to absorb information, but there comes that transition where it's time to not only absorb but to start living what we're absorbing.
And to produce your own, right?
Exactly.
The knowledge, I've always felt like, because I channel, that when I learned something new, it almost opened the door for me to channel that kind of stuff. So sometimes I channel things that I didn't know about before, but yeah, you know,
It's just another key.
it gives you more information, and it's almost like it opens you up energetically to more. So it allows more. It allows you to be more. But there definitely, you were able to step into whatever you learned and say, okay, now I'm ready, I have that. And a lot of people can't, because they have the fear that they haven't learned enough, or they don't know enough, or they aren't enough, or, you know, I need more, or, you know,
Well,
at some point,
that's that subconscious
That's
thing
the-
going, you don't deserve to be doing this yet.
Yeah.
You're not there.
yeah. So you have to, so that's great.
And what ties into that too is once you start living your truth, once you start practicing what you're reading, what we learn about, it then turns into a type of magnetism, because by living what you're reading and learning about, you attract other people who are
Yes.
into the same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
And it creates this kind of, I don't know how I can describe it, but critical overload, where you reach a point where by you being who you are and by shining, you actually give others the confidence and the courage to do the same.
Absolutely.
You kind of give them that space to let them know that it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to be who you want to be. It's okay to love this. And by you being confident about it, it passes it on to them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's another
Yes.
benefit of living your truth, because not only will you connect with other people, but at the same time you'll be able to see people like you who are basically going through the same journey and talking about that with them,
Yeah.
sharing that experience with them.
Yeah.
And then
So that's why you're doing the workshops in Ottawa here, is so that you can share what you've learned with others, and
definitely, I
and
mean,
how they could use it in their lives and their workplace.
we both know working for the government that, especially in my environment where it's a collections environment, it can be a very, let's say, low energy environment. It's a very demanding environment. And what I realized is that a lot of the interactions that I was having with my coworkers, with taxpayers, resulted in kind of a draining feeling afterwards. I didn't understand why at first. I'm like, hey, I'm having a conversation. I can understand that this person is tiring me out, but I don't really understand what's going on. And that's when I realized the importance of grounding, the importance of protecting ourselves, our environments, and our auras.
Yeah.
And I looked for different tools to help, and I found that crystals have been used for thousands of years by different cultures from all over the world, whether it's Asia, Africa, South America, North America, all over the world. Cultures accept that crystals have some type of beneficial properties. So how is it that all of these cultures that live thousands of years apart, thousands of kilometers apart, all came to the same common denominator? Well, there has to be some truth there. So when we do a little research, we realize that, hey, these crystals have been around for millions, if not billions of years. They're growing. They're a part of the earth. Just because they're growing over millions of years and it's slow, and our time, our eyes can't capture it, it doesn't mean that they're not growing. These are living beings with a consciousness. And accepting that as truth, realizing that unlocked everything.
Right.
Wow.
So that's part of what we'll be discussing at the workshop. And
Did it trigger in you a better understanding of who you are as a conscious being?
Most definitely.
Yeah, okay, because that's what I was picking up. Because what you just said, it was almost like
Definitely.
it clicked. Like in you, it made you understand your own.
I say this all the time, and it's like before I saw the world in black and white. After this journey, it's like seeing the world in HD. No, not color, HD. Because all of a sudden, not only do things become colorful, but they become vibrant.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing a person,
Multidimensional.
multidimensional, exactly. We're not on that base vibration. So instead of seeing someone as a human, as a man, a woman, old, young, rich, poor, you're actually looking at their energy. And then by looking at their energy, you remove the facade of the physical, and you can actually see the person that you're dealing with for who they really are. So you're breaking away from all that
Yeah.
all that other stuff. So for me, that's the biggest benefit of the transition of seeing things in this black and white mentality, and then understanding the energies, and then seeing things in a more
Yeah.
fuller perspective.
It's a magical way of living.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's addictive. I mean, once you start the
It's a
journey,
good addiction, though.
if there's going to be an addiction, it should be to this type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because it's not only does it bring you more, but it's kind of like the more you search, it's humbling as well, because you realize that the more you think you know, the more you know nothing at all. And that's when you realize that, hey, there's a lot more than just me, and then you realize that everything is interconnected, and the connections happen, and magic.
So you're going to talk about crystals that are for grounding and protection specifically.
Yes. Specifically for grounding and protection. So this workshop is going to be centered around that, with the goal of helping empaths. Most people who are sensitive to these energies are empaths, and they don't realize it.
Yeah, and so they're wide open to energy vampires and negativity and so on. So yeah, it's a good point.
Exactly. So what happens? Empath has a natural tendency to want to help and to heal. When the empath isn't grounded, what they'll do is they'll approach someone with the intention of helping and healing them, but without that grounding, without that protection, it's just absorbing that person's negative energy. So what ends up happening? You have one person who was okay, another person who wasn't doing so well, and now just became two people not doing so well. What that also results in is the empath is frustrated because they don't understand why they're not able to help. It creates like a kind of a discourse in the sense that they're not fulfilling their purpose. And so how do we fix that? Well, for me, it was realizing that, hey, there's ways that we can ground ourselves before we can approach someone to help them. There's breathing techniques, there's certain positioning of crystals that you can use, there's certain ways that you can hold crystals, put them on different parts of your body, wear them as jewelry, set them up in different areas of the home, and even visualizing the crystals can all help in grounding and protecting when it comes to having those interactions with people and in different spaces.
And I would also add, like, learning what is yours and what isn't yours, so that you don't pick up and own other people's things. So if you go into a place and it's hard for me to imagine that now because I'm so far removed from that. Like, I know that it's not mine, right? If I am working on somebody or I go somewhere and I feel negativity, I know it's not mine, but a lot of people don't. And so it's important to get to that place where you know what's yours and what isn't, and if it's not yours, you don't pick it up. It's just information. And when you're working on somebody, it's information on where you need to work and what they need, and yeah.
So just the details about this workshop. It's from 11 to 1.
Taking place on August the 13th, 2016.
Saturday.
Saturday, 11 to 1. It'll be at 301 Bank Street, Planet Botanics in Ottawa.
And the cost?
Cost is $25. It's going to be an excellent workshop. During the last 30 minutes or so, it's going to be an interactive portion where we're going to be working with different crystals. And like you said, really going into that space of identifying your own energy and knowing which crystals work best with your own energy.
Right, because we want the crystals to amplify our own gifts, right?
That's right.
Or protecting us and amplifying our own stuff, not creating a dependence on crystals to do things for us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Something
that I always say, and you've probably heard me say this before, is that we are the biggest crystal. We are the master crystal, each and every one of us. And so the crystals that we use are tools to help us. But if the master crystal isn't aligned, if it's not in tune, then those tools can't help.
Right.
It's a perfect analogy is that you can give a horrible, horrible artist the best tools, the best paintbrush, the best everything, best canvas, but they won't necessarily be able to produce a masterpiece. Whereas if you can give an amazing artist 4 tools, they'll still be able to produce something beautiful.
One last question I have for you. I had a customer in today, and we were talking about Reiki and a bunch of other things, and she said, well, who can get Reiki? Like, who can go and get certified? Is it like you have to have special powers?
I love that question. And the beautiful thing about Reiki and most healing modalities is that anybody can do it. There tends to be this perception like, healer, shaman, it's someone that we put on a pedestal. But the fact of the matter is that the energy that's used to heal in Reiki is around us all the time. The difference between a Reiki practitioner who uses this to heal someone and someone who doesn't use it is their awareness.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Reiki practitioner or any healing modality recognizes that the energy around us is present and they accept that as truth. And so by accepting that as truth, it becomes a part of our reality, and then we're able to use our body to channel the energy to help others.
Yeah.
And that's one of the beautiful secrets of this vessel that we're in.
We are, and when we're doing Reiki, we are channeling universal energy. I often get questions. I don't do Reiki much, but I am a Reiki master, and people will often assume that I'm going to get drained or tired. And well, obviously, I mean, if you're doing it all day, it's going to get tiring, but doing a session for me is invigorating and feeling, because I'm channeling it. I'm channeling that universal healing
just a
energy.
conduit.
So, yeah, so I'm getting the benefit of it as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
But I think that is
it's
what
not
holds a lot of
tiring.
people back
Yeah.
is they see that some people are doing it and they're doing it all the time and it becomes a part of who they are and they think that can't be me. And I say that because that's part of my thing is, well, I'm not necessarily that intuitive. I don't see auras. I don't. And I'm thinking, well, there's part of that is true and part of it is just that if you practice it enough, then those gifts will become stronger and stronger.
Well, and I don't see auras either, right? Like everybody has their own spark, their own gift, and it comes out. And Reiki, like I said, is a gateway drug. It will help open that door towards your own gift. Now, some people take Reiki and they don't continue with it, right? It doesn't work for them, and that's fine.
Well, like you
But
said,
if-
you're a Reiki master, but you don't use it that often. Like
No,
it's
but I
just
mean,
something
it's
in your
still part
toolbox.
of, yeah, exactly. But some people take Reiki and then they turn away from it. They're not interested. I'm not turned away from it. It's just not my my go-to, right? It's not my preferred, but I love it. But I have other things that I do that I go to more. But yeah, the thought that, well, I'm not this and I'm not that is really.
Well, it's that self-limiting belief again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That we keep coming back to and whatever way you need to heal it up. But I think this is going to be a really good introduction to some healing tools. When I worked for the government, I was told to put citrine and black tourmaline in the four corners of my cubicle, and I did that.
Citrine and black tourmaline,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I made a spritz because you can't smudge.
Yeah.
Frowned upon to light fires in your cubicle.
Yeah.
But just to have those tools, I think, can really empower people and make them more in control of what's going on in their work situations and in their work environments and home environments too.
Definitely.
Any environment.
And that's what it is. It's about. It's really understanding what tools are available, how to use them, and customizing them to find out what works best for each and every one of us. Just like with crystals, each one of us is different. We're all vibrating at a different vibration, which means that a crystal that's tuned to a specific vibration may work well for you, but might not work well for Heather, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's really about finding what works well for each and every one of
Like
us.
people.
There you go. There you go. So finding
Yeah.
that match.
So if people want to sign up for the workshop, how do they do that?
There's a couple ways. They can pass by Planet Botanics, sign up in person.
Just swoop in. Swoop in on your broom.
Yeah, you never swoop in and then swoop out. It's kind of like swoop in and oh
It's
wait
take
a
a couple
minute.
of minutes.
Oh,
Stick
shiny. Oh, shiny.
Yeah, so that's one way. They can
Yeah.
also send me a message through Gmail. My email is michael_sanon@gmail.com. Or if they like, they can sign up via Eventbrite.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a Facebook page that links to the Eventbrite where they can register and sign up that way.
And that's on our Planet Botanics Facebook page already as well.
So you're doing a workshop. Do you do one-on-one work with people? Is there anything you do like that, or what do you do?
Definitely. So for people who ask, there's the availability to do one-on-one private consultations. So often people have questions about the crystals that they have right now. They'll have questions about how to use crystals, how to set them up, which crystals work well with each other, how to cleanse the crystals, if they can make elixirs using the crystals, how to use grids. There you go, never mind. So all of these questions really come up often. So someone who's just starting within crystals wants to have that base, that foundation that we were talking about earlier. They can ask to have a private consultation depending on the length of time. They can bring their crystals as well, so we can show them how to use.
Do you work
crystals.
remotely as well?
Remotely,
Through Skype?
Mostly in person.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I like to feel the person that I'm speaking with. I feel like Skype is a really good tool. Technology grants us the ability to see each other from kilometers apart.
Yeah.
But for now, I feel like where I am in my stage is really good to have that.
And feeling the crystals too, like actually having that hands-on.
That's right. And then like feeling the reaction when it enters that person's aura and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So really just.
So we'll
giving them
work
a
on that,
personalized
Michael.
touch. Sounds
Well, I'm so glad you could come in today.
Glad you can have me. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
but-
coming.
Make sure you can attend this workshop. If not,
Yes.
you'll have to sign up for the next one because I know there are going to be some more this fall.
And then for those of you who aren't in Ottawa, I'm going to work on him to start doing remote work.
In his spare time.
I think that everybody who does anything energetic should be working remotely, right?
That means you can
Yeah.
access anyone in the whole world that you
Yeah.
need to, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right, we're good? Anything else you want to?
Just thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next week.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Until next
That was
time.
great.
Bye, everybody.